Hello again. Welcome to Contemplative Intercession. And I seem to have moved towards facing acceptance. And I do believe that acceptance is a foundation for intercession. So it is relevant. But I've mentioned acceptance twice now. And I can see by the numbers of you who've seen the last two videos that it's touching something, because I've had a lot of views, and I've had a mail suggesting that I have another go, and which I'm doing today, and adding something I think really important. Acceptance and commitment therapy is one of the ways that has been developed to support people who live with abuse and trauma and are now working to find a way forward. So people who've been through horrendous experiences, acceptance and commitment therapy. The acceptance here is not about accepting the wrong that was done as right. It remains wrong, but accepting accepting that the wrong was done and cannot be undone, and committing to a way forward which integrates the past into the context of the whole person we are today and who we may come to be. For the person who has been abused or traumatized, that acceptance and commitment to a way forward can be a means of refusing to be held by the wrong that has happened and taking back control. This is really powerful stuff. And just again, later on, acceptance does not mean complicity with the wrong. And that has deep resonance for us today. Okay, so acceptance. How do we do it? And I've been wrestling with this, and I can only tell you how I did it. A couple of years ago, I had some therapy, some counselling sessions, and at the end, during that, my counsellor took me back to early experiences, which I found hugely powerful. I thought I'd done all that stuff, but no, there was still a great power in those early experiences. So we unpacked those, and she left me with 5 sort of stepping stones, which I, in my sort of time of reflection in the morning, spent time on those 5 stepping stones, and I found them huge challenge at first, but as I just spent time with them, I sort of began to warm to them, and they began to become more part of me. And the stepping stones was first to understand myself better, so working towards self-understanding, and then accepting myself, and I found that hugely difficult. I think there are sort of 2 backgrounds that we might have problems with. A lot of us come from quite critical backgrounds, because it was believed that you had to be self-critical in order to improve. So, you know, if your parents or formative people were critical of others, they were probably also critical of themselves, and you will have picked up that self-criticism, beating yourself up, telling yourself off, and that can be hugely destructive. I think there's another way where we actually have great self-belief, and I envy those people who have great self-belief, but that can be a sort of a fantasy. They project someone who they're not actually, and it's also not true. So we're trying to come to the acceptance of who we are, that true centre, our true self, in other words. Understanding, acceptance. Oh, that was so hard at first. Having compassion for myself. which is another way of accepting myself, I suppose. Valuing myself was number 4, and that was hard. And then resourcing myself, so actually making sure I had time for fun and those sort of things to resource myself. So this acceptance of self, it just feels so vital because it seems to be the doorway to accepting others. And for me, it's through the heart, and Thomas Keating suggests that the heart is a sort of a portal to understanding others, to accepting others, to knowing that we are all one as human beings, whatever our background or whatever. We are one. We can't say we're better than another or worse than another. We are one. So accepting of others and accepting of God. Now that may seem strange, but actually so often we selectively create the God we want. We look to the Bible and we sort of somehow unconsciously cherry pick passages which enable us to create an image of God the way we want God to be. And acceptance allows God to be who he is. For me, not an angry parent, but a loving parent who loves me as I am. And that was hard to move, but it was so necessary. So, and allowing the way the world is to be the way the world is. So, in your daily practice of prayer or meditation, you don't really need a faith for this, but in your daily practice, just spend some time with acceptance and maybe those other words. What did I say they were? Compassion, valuing, compassion for self, valuing of self. Just spend some time each day in an open attitude. It's amazing. Just a few minutes each day can be like a rudder that is able to steer a great big ship. It just makes a difference. It enables us to find the cracks where the light comes in. Leonard Cohen lyric. I imagine someone who's trying to dig through some rock and there's a sort of crack and you put the chisel in the crack and open up the crack and the light comes in. So we take time daily, if possible, to just be open with ourselves and still and focusing on that intention to self-accept. And then we look for the thin spaces in our lives. And again, you don't need a faith for this. I'm reading a book by someone who calls herself an atheist, certainly bows to the prevailing wind of atheism. But there is a spiritual hunger there. It's fascinating. But she talks about those sort of thin places, the liminal places. For me, it's the natural world, water, sea, rivers, lakes, just looking at a leaf or something. But it could be quite different. 2 colleagues have staggered me recently by saying that they really met God through study, through 2 hours of studying. You just really meet God. I've never had that experience. It's not me at all. But find, what are those thin places for you? And put yourself in those thin places if you can. And just be open to something more, something deeper. Oh, yeah. There was another point and I'd lost the piece of paper. Oh, yes. So practice, attend to the thin places, and allow your life to change. Don't necessarily keep to the same routines. Just be open to you wanting to do something different. So, if you're used to watching hours of television in the evening, you just might find yourself, I think I want to go outside or look out the window or something. Just do something different. Just be ready for your life to change. I'm growing seeds at the moment. It's spring at the moment. And you just plant the seeds and nothing happens. And then a little shoot comes up. And something new is growing and developing. I saw last night a brilliant Richard Raw short video, shorter than this. Sorry, we're overrunning a bit today, but I will just finish. And I'll try and put a link to that at the end of this, if I can. I don't know how to do that, but I'll try. I want to end with a prayer of Thomas Keating, father of centering prayer, and it's called the Welcome Prayer. And I think it's probably easiest if you Google Thomas Keating Welcome Prayer, and I found a nice page with the prayer and as well a bit of explanation. I don't think I read actually, but I'm sure it would have helped if I did. But I just find this so challenging. And you will find this trips you up in places. It does in me. But let me read it to you. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I welcome everything that comes to me today, because I know it's for my healing. I welcome all thoughts, feelings, emotions, people, situations, and conditions. I let go of my desire for power and control. I let go of my desire for affection, esteem, approval, and pleasure. I let go of my desire for survival and security. I let go of my desire to change any situation, condition, person, or myself. I open to the love and presence of God and God's action within. Amen. I'll leave you there. I hope that was helpful.